Are your hips rising before the bar does on squats and feel like you tried everything, but it's still not getting better? You're not alone. A lot of lifters deal with this and it's costing you easy pounds on the platform. The real problem? You're thinking about the issue all wrong and doing the wrong things to fix it. I used to struggle with the exact same thing, and since figured it out, I've added over 500 pounds to my squat with no tip forward. So how do we actually think about a squat turning into a good morning? And more importantly, how do we fix it? To figure out why you're tipping forward on squats, we've got to look at what's happening on the way down, at the bottom, and on the way back up. On the eccentric or lowering phase, I am watching two things: your knee travel and your torso angle, because those determine how well you can use your legs on the way up and what has to happen at that reversal. Most people are going to say the answer is always quads, and they're usually right, so we will start there. Although, if more quads hasn't worked for you, we will need to dig deeper. But if your knees just aren't traveling forwards on the way down, we've got a quad issue, plain and simple. But it might not be a strength thing, it could be a skill thing if it's happening on the eccentric, because you might have learned to sit way back into your squat, finishing with a vertical shin, which blocks you from loading your quads. So if that's the case, I'll have you initiate with a bit more forward knee break, letting the knees travel to load the quads from the start. If that fixes it, easy, we're good. And it might still be worth running some high bar or front squats to reinforce that skill, but you might be able to just keep on cruising. Now, what if more knee break makes the shift worse right out of the hole? It's not going to be a skill issue, it is a strength thing. Think about it. If your hips rise but the bar doesn't, your quads are extending the knees, but the weight isn't moving. That means your body is trying to avoid using your quads, shifting the work to your hips and back instead. Now, strong hips and a strong back are great, but they shouldn't be doing all of the work. If we get your legs more involved, you're going to add pounds to your squat because the hips and back are going to be able to do more with what they've got. How are we going to do that? Well, high bar squats are solid for quad development, but they still can turn into a good morning. So if you are going to run them, limit the load, keep the tension in the quads, and don't let it tip. That way we're maximizing the work that the quads are doing, not avoiding it. What's going to be even better for quad strength? Machine squats like hack squats or pendulums, because the pad behind your hip forces you to stay into the legs. You cannot turn it into a good morning. But if you only got a belt squat, that can work too, although intent is key here. Let that belt pull you forward into your knees and then make sure you're staying in the quads on the way up. And if you do that, as your quads get stronger, you will stay in better position out of the hole. Now, if you've tried cranking quads, but the problem is still there, the next thing you should look at is your torso angle through the eccentric. Because if you're trying to stay super upright to get your knees forward, but it's still not working, you might be too upright for your levers, and that's forcing you to fall forward to hit depth. When that happens, the bar is dropping faster than your hips, making it harder to stop and reverse without tipping. Solution? Still get your knees forward at the start, but find more hinge early to go with that knee travel so you don't have to dive forward at the bottom just to get white lights. And if this tip is still happening, it's probably happening right after the reversal. Because if your quads are pushing you straight up for the first few inches out of the hole, it might not be a quad or a torso angle problem, it's your hamstrings. Sounds weird because we know that hamstrings aren't the prime mover in a raw squat, and I'm definitely not saying that they are, but they do play a role, especially in how the quads contribute to hip extension. Let me explain. When your quads extend to the knee, they're pulling the tibia forward, which in the absence of hamstring contraction will lengthen the hams. But if there's tension in those hamstrings, they help transmit that knee extension force up to the pelvis, allowing your quads to indirectly support hip extension. No hamstring tension or too weak of hamstrings, the hamstrings are going to yield and lengthen, letting you fall forward. If it's a ham strength issue, it's easy. Crank out some Nordics or GHRs, but if you need to learn how to use your hands on squats, building that skill gets a little bit trickier. Start with pulse squats, even body weight works. Drop to the bottom, drive straight up until the point that you normally tip forward, then pause. Try to feel both hamstrings and quads, then leg curl yourself back down and repeat until you feel a hammy pump. The downside of this, it's going to be pretty light, and light rarely carries over directly to a heavy barbell. So the next step, squat mornings. And no, that's not the same thing as what we're trying to get rid of, it's the exact opposite. Start with quad tension and use it to push you back into a hinge until you feel a hamstring stretch, then leg curl yourself into the hole. From there, drive straight up. Start light so you can feel it, then build it. If 60% of your comp squat becomes easy with perfect intent, you're going to be in a good spot. And the last thing to talk about is hard to do and isn't always realistic in meet prep, but if you want to fix that tip forward as fast as possible, stop loading past the point where your squat turns into a good morning. I know, no one wants to strip weight off the bar, but every time you grind through that forward tip, you're reinforcing the pattern. To change it, you got to train the new one. Take a step back now so your positioning, quads, and hams, whatever you need, can catch up and you'll be able to take 2 steps forward soon after. And that's it. The fix might not be easy, but once you know what to look for, it's simple. And if you're stuck with a technique issue and think you've tried everything, you haven't. Hit the link below and join the team because we will figure it out. I will look at all of your lifts so I can give you daily individualized coaching on everything that you do so you know exactly what you need to be doing to drive past any sticking point. And at the price, I know it sounds too good to be true, but it ain't. So hurry up and join before we do ramp that price up. And if you're dealing with SI joint pain on squats, give this video a watch because it's going to help you. Cooper, your nose is all dirty. Look at how dirty the puppy's nose is. Oh no. Cooper, you're dirty. You're dirty.